Extra credit. Okay. Just checking. Just checking. I want to know who's in the audience this evening. So we're here to provide an update to our community regarding the 2025-26 closure and consolidation process, otherwise known as Phase 2. If you've been following our district, we did close 2 schools in the current school year, Mare Island Health Fitness Academy and Loma Vista Environmental. Those decisions were made last school year. The decisions we're looking to make are decisions that will impact the 26-27 school year. So it will not impact any of the schools in the current year. These would be decisions that would take into effect in the 26-27 school year. This evening, though, it's really an opportunity for me to provide you an update and to hear from you all. So we have microphones set up. We will get to that part where you can give us comment or ask questions, and we will hope to answer those questions this evening. Up on the screen, you see just some norms for this evening. Tonight is really about making sure we're all hearing the same information, providing some clarity, and giving you an opportunity to stress with us, the district, any needs or concerns that you might have and any questions. So a brief overview for Phase 2. All right. No. Did it work? There we go. So, as I mentioned, we're in Phase 2. Phase 2, we know that we are in the process of looking at 7 different campuses, 7 different schools. These are the ones you see on the screen. These schools were identified last spring by the governing board as potential school sites that we would consider for closure or consolidation entering the 26-27 school year. So on the list, we have Cooper Elementary, Federal Terrace Elementary, Highland Elementary, Lincoln Elementary, Pennycook Elementary, Stephen Manor Elementary. We also have the John Finney Education Complex, which is 5 programs technically that serve the majority high school age students, and they're located actually right across the street. Now, logistics of the decision. This is a decision that the superintendent does not actually make. The superintendent makes recommendations, but the ultimate decision does fall on the governing board, the 5-member board that's elected by the community members. They are tasked with making those decisions based on all the information that we, the staff, myself, and the team has provided the governing board. And we've been examining a lot of different pieces of data, everything from our current enrollment, our enrollment trends, financial impact of these decisions, and we're going to get to why we're even going down this path. So ultimately, the goal of closing and consolidation is to really refocus on our guiding light, which is the strategic plan. We have a strategic plan that goes through 2027, and in that plan, we are working all diligently to make sure every school in Vallejo City is a high-quality school. We want to make sure that the programming improvements happen across the board, and that, most importantly, we stay as an organization fiscally solvent. So we roughly run a $200 million budget, annual budget. And that budget covers everything from turning on the lights to making sure our employees are paid to making sure we have the supplies necessary for schools. We also want to make sure that in our district, we are optimizing the spaces we have. We do have quite a few schools for the number of students we serve. So as I mentioned earlier at the very beginning, we did close 2 schools this past year. Those schools were Mare Island Health and Fitness and Loma Vista. Students who were at Mare Island Health and Fitness, the majority of the students decided to remain on that campus and be absorbed into the Vallejo Charter School that was relocated from their previous site to Mare Island. And the majority of the students who were at Loma Vista were able to join into Solano Wiedemann Leadership Academy, which was physically right next door. So providing a bit of context in data. So on the screen, you see a chart that shows our total enrollment going back to 2020, right around the pandemic era, and you can see that we have had a decline in enrollment starting around 11,700 to just about 9,600 this past year. If you forecast that even further back, I have heard many people tell me that this district was once 23,000 plus students. So our footprint was built originally for 23,000 plus students. So we're nowhere near that now. And it's not that everyone has moved away. There's been a variety of factors that have played into this decline. But yes, families have moved away. We know the impact that the closure of Mare Island had on this community, and that really impacted Vallejo as a whole, including the school district. This is just a snapshot. It might not be the most recent data because we have new data that's going to be coming out soon in December, but this represents technically a year and a half ago. So this will be updated soon. The CASP data, which is our assessment data, was just recently published in October for all schools. So this will get updated soon. But you can see, just looking in general at our data, we do have room for improvement. We have performance in English language arts and mathematics that is not where it needs to be to truly, truly serve our students well. And we know that's going to take a concerted effort on all our parts to get there. We have high numbers of students who receive English learner services. And then we also know that we need to ensure that our students who graduate from our campuses, Vallejo High School, Jesse Bethel High School, and John Finney, are prepared for college and career. So our district does still face some financial challenges. So if you've been watching the news, you might have heard we had great, fantastic news. June 30th, we exited state receivership. That was a really big milestone for our district. 20 years ago, the district went bankrupt, essentially, and had to take out a state loan of $60 million just to stay solvent. That loan has been paid fully back with interest to the state. And this past June, we received full local control back as a school district. So our governing board has full autonomy to make the decisions that are necessary, both in the budget, but also in the programming to ensure that our school stays fiscally solvent. We also, over this time, witnessed, like I said, a decline of enrollment. Enrollment drives our staffing. So when we think about how many teachers we have at a school or how many custodians we have at a school, that's all driven by the enrollment. However, enrollment doesn't drive the funding. It's the attendance of our students that drives the funding. So you can have an enrollment of 1,000 students at a campus, but if your attendance rate is 90% or 89%, you're only funded for that 89%. You're not funded for the full 1,000. So that would be for every $1,000, you get $890. That's the difference attendance makes. So you still have to staff based on your enrollment, but your attendance is what drives your funding. The other thing to note is the funding for our students follows them. So if you're a family who lives and resides in Vallejo, but you leave to send your kid to American Canyon or Benicia or across the bridge, your funding travels with you. So when we're seeing an exodus of students to our neighboring school districts, it essentially becomes a wealth transfer from Vallejo to these neighboring school districts. So our mantra of keeping things in Vallejo, think VCUSD first, is really important. And it's about ensuring that the students and families in Vallejo are getting everything they deserve. Another factor in our financial challenges is during COVID, a lot of additional funding was coming into public school systems. Well, that funding has been used up. And during that time, we added a number of different services that our students needed because we were coming out of a pandemic. However, that funding was not intended to be permanent. It was really just a temporary adjustment to ensure our students were getting the extra resources necessary. Well, that funding has been used. So we're not alone in Vallejo. Many of our public school systems are navigating the challenges now where we've added services to schools that we got used to providing that we no longer can pay for. And so those services have to go away at this point. Lastly, when we have the number of schools we have with the student population, you have to make decisions around where you put your funding and resources. So you see in a list, for example, a school like Lincoln Elementary that has a student population of 104 students this year. Well, that same size school requires a school principal, requires a night and day custodian, requires an office staff, requires all these same services that a much larger school would also require. So when you factor that in, you're paying additionally more dollars to educate a student at that school versus a neighboring school. You're spreading your resources thin. So contributing factors and why we see this decline in enrollment. We know that there are lower birth rates. That is just a national trend. We've seen housing prices increase, so it's not as affordable as it used to be to live in the Bay Area, especially to live in Vallejo. We've seen housing rates go up, so people have moved either out of Vallejo, either going east, or some people have left the state to find more affordable housing as well. And then we've seen this dramatic increase in the cost of living. It's much harder to fund the same things we had 10 years ago or 20 years ago. Now, this is one of the primary factors. School closures is something we are considering. When you look at all our current school sites and you factor that if you could turn classroom spaces into classrooms with, say, 20, 25 students, 30 students, we are only utilizing 51% of our capacity. So theoretically, with the schools that we currently have, we could grow by 49% and still fill every room. And that's significant because every space you use, one, you're using electricity, you might have to clean it. There's all these factors that play into it. So we need to decrease the utilization and increase this capacity number. Most districts want to see this number closer to 80%, 85%, that you're using the capacity that you have. So what has the district done to help stop schools closing? And this is a really important question. We've talked about some of the academic performance. We know we need to increase academic performance across all our schools. We need to make our schools attractive to our community so they don't choose to go to charter schools or neighboring public schools or private schools. We have made budget reductions already and continue to do so because we know the more we can save, the better off we're going to be, maybe not have to close as many schools. We have campaigned to improve our attendance, like I mentioned before. Every day a student comes to school means additional funding. Every day a kid is not in school, regardless of a decision of why they're not in school, takes funding away from the programs. We've put a cap on transfers out of the district. So we had a system that was essentially allowing our families to just leave relatively unchecked. And that policy has changed, and we've actually limited the cap to 1% of our average daily attendance. And we're being very firm with that. And so families are going to have to make a decision to commit to their public schools. And then mentioned earlier, we did close 2 sites already. All of these decisions, though, are driven by the data we're collecting. So we not only look at current attendance numbers, current performance information, transportation, we're also looking at how do these closures impact our communities, because we don't want to impact one community more than another, and so we look at those things very critically. A little historical walk. Going back to 2003, you can see that schools that have either closed or transitioned over that time. Remember, we used to serve 23,000 students at one point in this district. How many of you graduated from Hogan High School? Well, Hogan High School, closed as a high school, is now Hogan Middle School. We have Springstown Middle School, that changed as well. A variety of transitions. Some schools were, properties were sold, some became charter schools, and there's different transitions for different properties. We are in the process of continuing that process. When we have a campus that's closed, we don't want to just leave a building empty and unutilized. So either we're looking at selling that property. For example, we have the former Vallejo Charter School, which is formerly Springstown. which is the current Family Resource Center. It's been a lot of different iterations. That is a property that we are considering selling in the near future to generate revenue for the district. That is revenue that can go back into the system. We have a current site at formerly Rollingwood, which is currently in the process of being sold, which is under escrow, and we're hoping that the funding will be coming through when that is at completion. So that's another consideration. So when we have these district properties, instead of having them sit empty, we like to make sure we either can generate revenue from them. For example, Franklin Middle School, which is formerly Franklin Middle School, that currently is a partnership with GVRD, Greater Vallejo Recreation Department. So they rent part of the facilities. And we just found a Rising Star Academy, which was at a non-public school special education program, that is renting that facility as well. So it's going to generate funding for the district. So think VCUSD first. You've probably seen this in our social media. This is a campaign. We want our community to see us as the first and hopefully only option for their kids. We know people have options. We know that the community wants better. And that is ultimately what we're trying to do here, is to make sure that all our schools are serving the needs of every child in Vallejo. So it is going to be your turn. So we have microphones set up on either side. I'm going to ask the executive cabinet team to come up in case there are questions that they need to field. And we're going to be turning it over to you. This is a meeting for you all. So if you have any burning questions, any suggestions, questions, we're also documenting this because this all comes back to the school board. Before I move forward, I'm going to point out, I believe we do have a school board member in the audience. Mr. Dean Hodges, can you wave at everyone so they know who you are? So Dean Hodges is our school board member. One of the 5 that'll be tasked with a really difficult decision in the future. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to give you the opportunity to come up to the microphone, ask any questions you might have, or give us a suggestion, or even just give us a comment. Don't all move at once. There's no pressure. You don't have to. But if there's something you want to ask, this is an opportunity. Please. Hold on a second. We want to make sure the microphone's on so we can hear you.
Hello. I just want to speak to the generations of families that have gone to Cooper School.
Oh, thank you.
My husband, who just passed away last month, 75 years old, went to Cooper. My nephews went to Cooper. My nephew's daughter now goes to Cooper. Very smart little girl, scary smart. I feel like she's getting a great education from Cooper. So we live close by, within walking distance. So it's a great neighborhood. It's a wonderful school. That's it.
Thank you so much. Do you want to just take the mic out?
I can do that. No. I need it for this size. You want to take it down? Take it off, oh.
Hi there.
Say hi, Nacho.
Hey.
Speak right here.
Hi. My name is Ignacio. I am kindergarten in Stephen Meadow. Please don't close the or I will be sad. I love Stephen Meadow. I love teacher Miss L and Miss Tammeyer. I love my friends. Love Miss Sander. Stephen Meadow is the best school ever.
Thank you. Oh. Yeah. Hi there. Go ahead.
Like ask questions.
You can say your name, say who you are.
Why is Cooper closing?
So your question is, why is Cooper closing?
Yes.
So Cooper is one of the 7 schools we're looking at. We haven't decided it's going to close yet, but it could close. We are looking at all these different schools, and partly we have to look at what makes the most sense in combining schools, moving schools together. And Cooper is a school that could not only serve elementary, but could be potentially a different location for John Finney Education Complex, which is our continuation high school. So that's why we're looking at Cooper specifically. But as of right now, we haven't decided it's going to close. We will know by December if it will close, and then it won't close this year. If it does close, it would be for next school year.
What will it turn into?
So if Cooper closes, right now we're looking at potentially moving John Finney Education Complex to the Cooper site. John Finney is the school right across the street. Thank you. You can, both mics are available, so.
Why do you guys want to close John Finney Complex?
So I want to clarify, we don't want to close John Finney Complex. What we are looking at is potentially relocating, so moving John Finney Education Complex, which is 5 programs. It's John Finney, it's leadership, it's Everest, it's virtual academy, independent study, adult transition. 5 programs that currently, I want to say it's about 200 students total, and moving them to a different campus.
Relocation.
But as a program itself, John Finney will not close. John Finney will exist next year.
My name is Louisa, and I love school, and my teacher name is Miss Boyonas, and I always like school because I can learn and I can be smart, and every time we can learn math.
Thank you so much.
Hi, and I want to say the last 2 children that spoke were from Cooper Elementary. Please wave if you're here from Cooper Elementary.
Hey, it's good to see Cooper. It's good to see you all.
I was just wondering, I know that you guys did, there was a walkthrough at Cooper where I work. I'm a kindergarten teacher. And they were, I guess, checking at the buildings and seeing, and I didn't know if there were results from that report
So
that I haven't seen.
No, so the executive cabinet team, because we have these really difficult decisions facing us, we decided to take our cabinet meetings and do a sort of traveling cabinet meeting. So we've been at Lincoln now, we've been at Cooper, we've been at John Finney, and we're starting with the 7 schools on this list just because if we're going to make a decision or a recommendation, we want to make sure we've been on every campus and seen every room, so we could speak to it very clearly when the board asks questions around that campus. So your interim principal gave us a presentation about Cooper, and then we walked in a handful of classrooms to see how it's going.
Okay, that wasn't exactly my question, but that's good to know. They came in and were like assessing the condition of the school.
That Mr. Fernandez could speak to that. I think they were taking pictures as well, right?
Yeah, there was gentlemen in my classroom and
Yes. Sorry.
looking at the walls, and I don't know.
Maybe Mr. Fernandez, you can talk about that study that we're doing across all facilities.
So one of the things that we put in place before the summer was a capacity analysis study by our architects and our facilities team. And so we're doing that at every school site. We're looking at the conditions of the facility, when was the last time it was modernized, both interior and exterior, what is the parking situation, and really, what is it going to take to really understand where those facilities are, and if we needed to move program, do we have the space? How much space do we have at those places, right? So that is going into one unified report that is going to help us make a decision to recommend to the board for consolidation or closure.
Okay, so that report hasn't been released yet?
We actually shared some of it at the last special board meeting.
Okay.
And introduced the process to the board for how we're gathering data and how we're looking to make some recommendations.
So Cooper is really centrally located with not a lot of other schools close to us. And so I feel like that would cause a lot of costs in busing to moving children that are close to our school out to other schools. Is that something that's being taken into consideration?
Yeah, our equity impact analysis report that was done shortly thereafter and is in draft form right now, will come back to the board for formal acceptance in November. It does include an extensive transportation study. So they're working with our transportation department, looking at our routes, as well as looking at the impact if we did have to consolidate a school, how much more we would need to invest in a route or a different pickup location, and how many kids would be impacted if it's more than a certain amount of miles, right? As far as walking distance goes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, hello.
Hello.
And hi. I'm the grandmother. My name is Carol, of two twin girls who special ed, mild autism, Heaven and Harmony, and that was one of their teachers speaking. And I also have a granddaughter, she'll be 18, that was there in the 3rd grade. I'm severely blind. Cooper is like 8 minutes from my home. And I appreciate the question of the busing. One thing I do want to say, if I get a little emotional, you must understand. The teachers, the staff, the principal who's new, feels like a family to me, extended family, with all the issues that I've endured with my granddaughters as well as my own personal situation. All the teachers, it's like they don't even get paid enough. It's been around, and my question, what can I do? What can we do as parents to come together to maybe get funding? What's going on with state funding is it's children leaving Cooper because of everything else that's going on in this insane world as we speak. What can we do to keep the school open? You have no idea, as far as a person like me that don't drive, and other kids that do walk to Cooper. You know, and by hearing you saying busing, wouldn't that cost more money? If you were to do busing, there, back, lunch, and different dynamics to what grade levels versus keeping it open. And as a grandmother who's willing to fight to do whatever, if we can collaborate and come together to keep the school open. Under this new principle, it's like, I love the way they keep the school secure, very secure. I can't even go in anymore. I love that back in the day.
Right.
You know, what can we do? I'm on the mercy of the district. The superintendent, is he here? What are you guys?
I'm the superintendent.
Okay,
yeah.
Nice meeting you, sir. What can we do? What can we do?
So I think it's a combination of things that need to happen. We talked about how we're funded and attendance and how all that really needs to improve.
Okay.
Unfortunately, improving attendance in 1 year is not going to close the gap that we have to make. So our budget challenges, even school closures, isn't going to fix that. So it's a combination of school closures and budget reductions, staffing reductions that are looming that are going to have to be addressed. So closure is honestly one component of a much larger challenge that this district faces. We have a structural deficit that needs to be addressed over the next 2 years. $32 million structural deficit over 2 years. So as much as I appreciate the sentiments of how do we fight for our school, I appreciate it. This is not an easy decision for anyone. We don't want to close schools. However, we have to look at how do we sustain this district fiscally so we can continue to operate the way we do to serve all students in Vallejo. So it's just really challenging to have to make those decisions, but we're being forced to have to make some really difficult decisions.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
I'm looking this way.
I'm over at I know, I'm at the podium. No worries.
Okay. I have one more question then.
Yes.
Even with that. Say volunteers, there's more that can help far as with stop signs or just supporting the teachers that's there. Would that help?
Volunteers always help. I mean, I think that is something we'd always are interested in getting that support at all schools. You mentioned earlier, the state legislatures, the
Yes.
government, all of that is important. All of that is important. School districts are severely underfunded. The rising cost, you mentioned your granddaughters, the rising cost in special education is something that every public school agency is facing. It just costs more to educate our students, especially students that have different needs. And so all of that are factors that play into this budget that we have to work around. And so pushing not just the state government, but the federal government. I mean, right now, the Department of Education is completely shuttered. And they're laying everyone off at the Department of Ed. So all of these things matter. I mean, I would say for anybody in here who can vote, should vote,
Yes.
because that's how we make changes. But for us here locally in our school district, we have a budget we have to fix.
One more, I'm sorry, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna hold you hostage. Even with this though, you say if you do close it, and you want to place them somewhere, wouldn't the student capacity be over 30 plus? I mean, how would that work to support our children?
Great question. So closing a school, we would be moving students and teachers. Our class sizes are dictated by our contract language. So class sizes don't just balloon because we're combining schools. We keep the same ratios. It's just we would have more children at one site. So a school that maybe has 300 to 400 might go 400 to 500. There would be more classes in that school and more teachers in that school.
Well, I pray, I believe in God. I pray that
I
you
appreciate
have
you.
mercy and grace and empathy
Yes.
for what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Mel Blair. I'm coming from Cooper Elementary, and I just wanted to put it out there. Same for me. I just moved to Vallejo in 2021. Part of the reasoning is, I found this home, great. I had my wife was pregnant with our twins. One of them are here now. One of them who also has an IEP. And long and behold, there's a school right across the street from my house, Cooper Elementary. Great that they go there. They've grown so much, especially, this is Madison with her little dance. She's the one with the IEP, and I can't tell you how much has changed for her by going there. Granted, she's doing it through video, but the teachers there, her teacher, she's in TK right now, Miss Lombard, great teachers, learned so much. The growth I can express to you. Cooper Elementary really has something special, and I pray that you guys also consider it. I know budget and check and balances is I get the business part of it, but I would just hope that you can consider it. I would say the same thing if I was at any of the other schools also. It's just particularly mine that I'm with is Cooper Elementary. So I hope that you guys do consider it. Cooper is an excellent school. It has something going on, like the grandmother said. It is a very homey feeling there when you go there. It's not like you're just a number, get in class, be quiet. You feel like you're somebody when you go there. The parents know each other. The parents know the teachers know the parents. It has something there. I just hope you guys consider it. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Hi, how you guys doing? I actually just had a question about the factors that you guys are using to make your decision. Can you guys speak to some of the factors that you're going to be using outside of like attendance and the enrollment numbers? Are you guys looking at site safety, site location, kind of the condition of the schools themselves? Is that
Yeah, and I think Assistant Superintendent Fernandez mentioned the equity impact analysis. So that is a study that was done. So if we go back to the 7 schools, there's 16 different scenarios using those 7 campuses that are being examined, everything from impact on transportation, just the facility itself, condition of the facility, is there enough adequate space, is, all those different many factors, special programs that might exist at a campus that's unique to that campus, all of those contribute to this decision ultimately by the board. So it's not just a straight numbers game.
okay?
Because we're also looking at if you close a school, you might have to redraw attendance boundaries now because that school does no longer exist in that area, so you're redrawing boundaries. So some students who might go one direction, you might have students going in a different direction. So the impact is really going to be felt throughout the system, not just these schools that are named.
Correct. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay.
I heard that Cooper got a grant recently to, have like extra classes, more fun stuff for kids to do, things like that. What happens to that money if our school closes?
I'm going to turn to the team. Who's got that one?
I believe you're speaking to the community schools.
I'm not sure what it's called. I just heard that we got money to do some cool stuff.
There's
Right.
a handful of
So
schools that received that money, but yes.
there's a recent grant, the community schools grant. I believe Cooper was part of that grant. Ms. Dilly, yes, Cooper? Yes. All right. And so funding under that grant would not continue because the grant was provided to the school. So that is something to calculate into the conversation, is those grant funds. So it's a 5-year grant, but if the school isn't there, then that money would go back to the state.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a factor.
What happens to the teachers? Do they all get job placement or?
So I want to have Assistant Soup Chamberlain from Human Resources answer the teacher question.
Great question, thank you. So once the board has made their decision, then we'll be using the seniority list that we've already sent out to all staff, and then make an assessment on where teachers will be moving, and then we'll look at the seniority list based upon the needs at those sites.
Does that include the after-school program as well?
All programs, we would be looking at shifting to make sure we have the staffing for the students that we have.
Okay. I want to say the same thing Mel said, that the school is such a home to the kids. Everybody knows each other's name, like you said. I don't want to get emotional. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't go to a public school when I was a kid. I went to a private school, and I didn't know what to expect from my kids, and they both are loved just as much as I was at a public or at a private school. So I love Cooper. I didn't know I would, but I do. And Miss Iriarty, she's the main reason. Miss Brenda over there, you're awesome too.
Yes. Yes.
So please don't close our school.
Thank you.
My name is Lori Tackmeyer, and I've been in the district for 26 years. I've been at 6 different school sites within this district. I have survived a school's closure. I have survived consolidation. I have been reduction enforced 7 or 8 times. Okay, maybe only 6 or 7. I have been transferred because of those things. It's a fear. I get that. But I'm not here to speak about that. I'm here to speak about your equity report. So the equity report reports that certain classrooms within our schools are not being utilized for students. But it's not taking into consideration our speech services, our Hey Tutor services, our RSP services, all of our outside things that we are using for our students. So I would say we need to really evaluate how those rooms are used. Yes, we might have 4 empty rooms, but they're being used for other services for our children. So are they truly empty? I'm going to finish with every school has wonderful things. Every school within this district has great teachers and great programs and community. Closing any one of them is going to be decimating. We understand that, but I would look to not have a Mare Island situation where people are crammed into spaces where they just don't fit. I would ask you to look really, really hard at how the rooms are being utilized and serving our children. Because the reality is, it is VCUSD first. It is our children first, and we need to put our energy into making sure our children have those extra services as well as their classroom services.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catalina. I am a fourth grader at Stephen Manor. This is also my fourth time speaking up for my school. As a fourth grader, I shouldn't be stressing out if my school might close or if my friends and my Stephen Manor family will be split up. At my age, I should be worried about learning and having fun. When making your decision, please think about the kids. We matter.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Talia Thomas, and I'm a scholar attending Willoughby Atkinson. This is my first year scholar attending Willoughby Atkinson, and I go to Vallejo High. My question is, why don't you guys just close Federal Terrace and combine them with Cooper, since there's a lot of people here to advocate for Cooper? Because I went to Cooper when I was younger, and it is a really good school. Like, I learned a lot from there. There were a lot of good teachers that supported me throughout my school life. So I think you guys should take that in consideration when it comes to closing down schools.
Thank you for that. And just as a reminder, I know we're talking a lot about Cooper this evening, but all 7 schools, and I'll say 7 because Finney's on there. We know we're not planning to close Finney, but the other 6 elementaries have all had some version of families come out to speak why their school shouldn't close. But I appreciate the sentiments. The one thing we're trying to obviously avoid is not saying, don't close mine, close that one, right? Because that's hard, because every community wants their school to remain open. And that's why it's hard to factor in all the different pieces. But we are considering a Federal Terrace, just like we're considering a Cooper.
Hi, my name is Keisha. I'm an older sister of 2 little sisters, and I used to go to Cougar, which my little sister, she goes there now. And whatever we're doing, like trying to keep it, like make it bigger or something, I think we should keep it how it is, because I really don't know why, but like, I really like Cooper is fine how it is, in my opinion. The teachers there are really great. The yard duties, they're really comfortable to be in. Uh, as an older sister, I graduated, and I really want to see my little sisters graduate from Cooper, and I really want to see like how it reminded me of like how I was with my little sisters, and uh, I really like how uh sorry how like we they have great staff members, like for example counseling. They helped me a lot through emotional stress and other kind of stuff.
Thank you.
I want to know what happens to this homeschool kids.
Sorry, say it again. Which schools?
I want to know what happens to the homeschooled kids.
The homeschooled kids?
Yes.
So are you talking about students who don't come to our schools or come to our schools?
Homeschooled.
Well, homeschools are exactly that. The family is keeping them home and schooling them. So this doesn't impact them in that way. But you know what? Those kids can come to our schools. And we want them to come to our schools.
So, like, for example, if one of them came to Cooper and then they asked to be homeschooled, and then so they're getting work from Cooper on a computer.
Oh, like independent study, I think is what. So
Yes.
if they're in our schools, even if they're doing it that way, then they're still part of our school. So we have an independent study program. I don't know about elementary level. I don't think we have that anymore, but
Or only short term.
short term, yeah. Those are short, like 2 weeks sometimes.
But if their school closes, what happens?
Well, every student's going to have a school. Even with schools closing, we're going to make sure there are schools for everybody. It might be a different school, but there'll be schools.
Oh, and shout out to my friend Leonardo at Pennycook.
Like that. Love that.
I don't know how I follow that, but
You have to follow that. I know.
my name is Monica. I am a mother of an 11-year-old who goes to Hogan, who went to Vallejo Charter last year and was part of the consolidation. We actually did get an out-of-district transfer approved. However, after much deliberation, we did choose to stay here in Vallejo because I am a proponent of community.
I appreciate that.
So my question is, when the consolidations were happening, there was not necessarily a plan that I could get from staff at either Vallejo Charter or Hogan as far as the staffing and how they're going to accommodate the increase in size in classes. And so with more closing, that's just going to continue to increase the size of the classes. And so if we're worried about, as you mentioned earlier, the stats and the quality of the education, and that being one of the main reasons why people look outside, because as you mentioned, families aren't moving, they're just relocating their students' education. So how do we, with the increase in the size of the classes, how do we then increase the quality of the education? And what are our plans moving forward with that?
So I want to clarify that closing the schools doesn't increase our class sizes. The class sizes don't increase. That's driven by the contract language that we have with our teachers' unions. There are caps and maxes on those classes. They wouldn't go above. What we are doing this year differently than what we did last year with Vallejo Charter, for example, is one, the timeline has been accelerated. We've made a commitment to make a decision by December. Last year, if you recall, that decision didn't happen until late February. So things had to really get accelerated to make sure that transition. And we know we can do a better job of doing that transition and ensuring our families know exactly what their options are for schools the following year. Our employees know exactly where they're going to land, if they're moving schools. All of that needs to be done just better, plain better than it did this year. And so part of that timeline in having a decision by December is so we can have the time necessary to make sure all those pieces are in place for our families for next year.
So more specifically, what are those pieces?
So the pieces are, when the decision is made for a closure, we've mapped out very specifically if this campus closes and this many kids go to another campus, we know exactly which spaces and classrooms are going to be utilized on that incoming campus or that receiving campus. So part of this facility study is to map every room to make sure, and not just these 7 schools, but every school in our district, so we know every space that's available to be a classroom, every space that shouldn't be a classroom that serves a different purpose, like a wellness center or a library, school library. Those spaces will remain. We also are looking at the condition of portable classrooms. We have portable classrooms that need to be retired. They weren't meant to be permanent structures. So all of that is being considered as part of this transition and move.
So how does that increase the quality of the education?
So the quality of education is increased One, with schools that are really small, you're limited in how you're able to collaborate. So if you have only one classroom per grade level, you're the sole kindergarten teacher or the sole first grade teacher. Now you potentially have 2 or 3 first grade classrooms or 2 or 3 kindergarten classrooms. Now you're able to collaborate, share ideas, share thoughts, share kids at times. Right now in those schools, when they're so small, there is nowhere else to send a kid to get additional support except for out of the classroom versus, say, sharing across classrooms. So that's one trait that will help our schools. I'll ask my assistant sup of ed services, what other qualities would improve? Well, that's true.
That's one. Thank you, Ms. Dilly. So, if where we have a hard time filling key positions, I'm thinking like speech and language pathology, trying to find in-person speech and language. If we have fewer campuses where we have to fill those positions, we're able to maximize caseloads in one place versus having them spread out. It is easier to implement our professional learning strategies across fewer campuses than across many, right? We're able to kind of consolidate some of those supportive services in a few places and drive implementation of the things that we have identified as the strategies that will and can move kids, right? So while there's no silver bullet, none of this is, and I have no desire to close any school. If we are working with fewer campuses to support, then we can drive the changes more rapidly.
And I understand that point. Do we feel like that worked so far this year?
So the data is going to show what the data shows, right? So we are going to be monitoring our academic outcomes, monitoring our implementation of key strategies to make sure that they're happening in the way we intend. I can't speak to specifically, did the move help Vallejo Charter this year, right? It's going to have to come out in the wash. Like when everything is said and done, are they better off than they were? We'll have to wait to see. But if we are able to provide better services to those kids who transitioned from Loma Vista to Solano or Loma Vista to another neighboring campus, we will have to just monitor and see how that all is working out. I can't give you that answer just yet.
Okay. All right, thank you.
One thing that I didn't mention in the intro, I think it's really important to have this context. So as a district that exited receivership, regained local control, if we can't balance this budget and deal with the structural deficit, let's say the school board decides not to close schools or not to make the cuts that are necessary, we are in danger of going back under state control and state receivership. When that happens, well, first off, I get fired. The superintendent just gets fired automatically. So I'm fighting for my job as much as everything else. A state administrator is assigned to the district. The board has no longer power to make decisions, and they come in and do exactly this without any feedback. They come in and close programs in schools and don't have to answer to anyone. That's what it means to lose control of your district. So we're being forced to have to make these really tough decisions to avoid that severe situation.
And I'll be clear, I'm not necessarily against the closing of
No,
schools
I
or
understand.
consolidation. I just want to make sure that there's a plan moving forward and how we're going to increase the quality of the education to prevent
agree.
this from in the future. Because again, I chose to stay here, and I want to make sure that it was the right decision.
And we all want that.
Okay.
We do.
Thank you.
Just had a question I forgot to ask earlier. Do we have any input on where our kids go if our school does close? Or is that already decided by you guys?
So in the process, when we get down that line of this school close or that school will close, we are going to provide the options to our families if their school is closing. Let's say it's Cooper. If Cooper is closing, Cooper families would be given options of where their new home school would be if they're residential, Also, there's the intra-district if you wanted to switch within the district. And we would prioritize families from any school where they're impacted by closure. They would get priority.
Okay. I was also affected by a school closure in 3rd grade, and
Were
it
you?
sucked. So
Yeah.
just putting that out there.
I hear you.
It's really hard to make friends in a
Right.
school that's already like at 3rd grade. Everybody has friends already, you know. So
I mean,
everybody knows
hopefully,
all that, but just had to say
hopefully,
it.
wherever the decision lands, we try to keep our families together so they can travel together and be
That would be
absorbed
helpful.
into another school.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Kuykendall. I have lived across the street from Cooper School for several years. My concern is if you'd close Cooper School, what will that do to that immediate community? Because, and I'm dating myself here, I remember McKinley School. That was my elementary school on Capitol Street. It is very sad to drive by there, to see it all boarded up numerous years after it's shut down. I would not want to see that happen to our community on Del Mar and Tuolumne.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and that's something we are considering in this process, is what happens to a campus if it does close? How do we continue to utilize that campus? Or if it's a campus we're able to lease or sell, we would do that as well. What we don't want to see is campuses sit empty like that.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hello. Everyone's pretty much touched base on how I feel, but I also wanted you to take into consideration that a lot of families walk to school, to and from school every single day, including my family. I want you to think about if they have to move schools, that these kids, as small as can be, will have to walk through unsafe neighborhoods and weather or whatever the case is. A lot of families cannot drive across town to drop their kids off or anything. And then you also mentioned it was about budget. And then you also mentioned school buses. So why wouldn't we just stay where we are? Families can keep walking to and from school. The kids can continue to have their friendships. We have a full community there. And the second I leave my son at school, I have nothing to worry about because I know he's safe and he's in good hands. So please take into consideration to leave Cooper as it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Johnny, and my wife Genevieve here. We moved to Vallejo in 2018, and we have 2 children now. One of our children right now goes to Highland Elementary, amazing school. We love it. One thing that I've noticed since I've moved there, that it's been an increase of new families that have come to Vallejo. I've seen it drastically increase over the years with children. And we play at the parks and talk, and a lot of these families are, oh, we're gonna put our kids in this private school, or we're gonna take them to Benicia, like you were mentioning earlier, or we're taking them somewhere other than Vallejo. And I always like scratch my head in curiosity, like what's wrong? You live right next to Highland. Like, oh, well, the testing is really bad. And, it's all these, same old stories. And my wife and I are educated, and we challenge those questions. And, they don't have the answers, but we try our best to let people know that this elementary school and obviously Cooper, we had no idea. I didn't. My wife works in education, so she sees it. These schools are amazing. And we understand the drop of attendees create these problems. So we're doing our part to speak up for our schools and let them know that they are great. But I guess I have a question is, have you guys noticed the increase of new families? And if you do, is there any kind of plan to, I don't know, advertise or show that like our schools are amazing, you should put your kids in our schools and maybe not pay into a private sector?
Yes, I agree with you. I know personally, I've been in front of the Solano Realtors Association and implored them not to sell Vallejo properties and then show off our neighboring school districts. Because when you buy a Vallejo property, you don't belong to Benicia or American Canyon, you belong to Vallejo. And committing to your public school is how schools improve as well. We know that test scores are one thing, but it's also how you feel your kid feels or belongs in a school, and that matters as well. But we know it's all these competing parts that have to work together. That word of mouth in your neighborhood, seeing kids at the park playing and asking them where to go to school, all that's really helpful. Going back to the earlier question of how do you help, one is telling our story and convincing our community to invest in Vallejo schools, to send their children to those schools. I think our director of communications was going to talk about promoting. How do we promote Vallejo?
First off, I want to say thank you for promoting our schools out in the public and out, when you're talking to other families, because that's what we need from our community is to talk about all of those great things. I think Vallejo in general has a bad rap. And so there are these wonderful things that are happening, but we're not telling anybody what's going on. And so as the director of communications, my job is to tell those stories. So we have social media, think VCUSD first, all of those things help tell the positive things that are going on in our community, and we need everybody's help with that. It can't just be the communications team telling people about how great we are. We need everybody's help, and that's how we help change the narrative and get people back.
Right. I do hear that, some of my neighbors that have attended Highland at one point, they're my age or maybe just a little younger, they have poor experiences when they were kids and so on. So then they're, giving a negative narrative of the schools. Whereas like, I didn't grow up in Vallejo, but we're here and we want to plant our roots here. And my kids love it.
Yeah.
They're very smart. The teachers are great. And, our community is growing really well. And I like to just point out that, we are doing a good job and we see you guys doing what you can. And, I'd like to extend that assistance to all the parents here and extend to your communities that these schools they're great for our kids.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're all good. Again, Mel Blair. I'm new to Vallejo still, kind of, 4 years only or so. If Cooper was to shut down, what did you say will replace it? Because again, I live directly across the street from there, so it will affect me, my property, my life, everything. So.
Right, and just to be clear, I made a preliminary recommendation to the board. That recommendation was to close Cooper, to close Pennycook, to close Lincoln, 3 schools, and to relocate John Finney Education Complex to the Cooper site. So that was my recommendation to the board. That doesn't mean that's what's going to happen, but when, we have to start somewhere, and I had to provide a preliminary recommendation to the board. The board is battling, discussing, trying to figure out what is the right scenario, and we're providing that information. So when they say, well, tell me what happens if we close Federal Terrace instead of Lincoln or instead of Cooper, or if we close Highland, what is that? We have to look at all those different scenarios and provide our best recommendation. And then, of course, ultimately, the board will decide, do they close 1, 2, 3, 0? I mean, all the options are available for them.
And then again, what is that you're possibly making? I don't know.
Oh, John Finney Education Complex is literally across the street here. There are Continuation High School.
Okay.
It is also, Everest is the special day program for high needs students. We also have the independent study program. So it's 5 actual programs that make up one school campus, essentially.
Okay.
But it's about 200 so students that are served.
Okay. My daughter wanted to say something. All right.
Nope,
Never mind.
she got shy.
Hello. How you guys doing? My name's Bill Velasquez. I grew up in Vallejo. I was the last graduating school of Hogan High School.
Hey.
Franklin Middle School is gone, and now you guys have Stephen Manor on there as well. And I went to Stephen Manor. So I went to all those schools, and now only one of them is left, possibly also leaving. My overall question really is, you guys showed the decrease of enrollment and all this stuff. How do we know that it's next year, next schools are going to be on the chopping block? So now what do we do with the limited of schools and just continuing to close down, because the list showed a whole bunch of schools closed? So how do we know next year we won't be back up here again trying to fight for our schools to not be closed down?
That's a really good question. It's the thing I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying to avoid a phase 3, right? We did a phase 1, we're in phase 2. I don't want a phase 3.
Right.
I want us to make sure that we can do what's necessary this year so that next year we're talking about growing, we're talking about sustaining the programs we have. And remember that the budget challenge, school closures isn't going to fix the budget challenge.
Right.
It's part of a solution, but it's not the only part of that solution. So it's all these factors working in conjunction that's going to keep this district stable so we can continue to grow. The changes we're making in transfers, not allowing our families to just leave, that'll have an impact on those numbers because families are going to have to make a choice now. It's Benicia and American Canyon are no longer the option unless you live there. But then if you live there, you're not seeking a transfer.
Right.
If you live in Vallejo, attend Vallejo schools. That's the message we want out there. We do that, those numbers not only will flatten, they'll go back up.
Right. So with that, what are we looking to do to improve after that for the schools to be better, as far as like bringing more academics, bringing more, I don't know, athletic departments,
you're right.
different things like that. When I got to Hogan, we had tennis, golf, all types of sports, swimming, all this different stuff. And by the time I got to freshman year, everything was gone. Same thing with other schools and things like that. You know, you're losing athletes to different school districts because you guys can't compete with what they're offering. So what is the game plan as far as being able to, you know, provide some type of like encouragement to keep kids here?
I mean, you're spot on in your observation of that because we know the athletic programs we have, you know, and this is a partnership also with the city. If there's no Little League in this town and people have to go to American Canyon or Benicia to play Little League, then your kid wants to stay near their friends because they're on the same teams. So it's not just the school district, it's also the city that has to continue to grow programs for our kids and our youth. That then gets supported by the schools. Our drama department, our athletic programming, since you're a former Hogan person, we're going to be opening our Hogan Theater, which is brand new now. And that's going to be a community theater. So we are contributing and adding funding to things where we can. We're going to be redoing the ball fields up at Jesse Bethel. Now, people are probably wondering, if you have all this money to do those things, why are you closing schools? Different funding sources. So not every dollar is used for the same purposes. So just to be clear, we have some facilities money to make those types of improvements, like the ball fields, like the theater. This space here, how many of you have been in here, were in this space last year? It looks better now. We've done some work in this room, this screen. These things are new that we're able to contribute to do those improvements that are necessary. That doesn't address the structural deficit we have in our unrestricted general fund. That is how we pay for things like teachers and programs and everything else. Different pots of money that we have to address.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so I am a little nervous. I don't like to speak, but since I do love Cooper Elementary, I feel like it's my obligation to stand here. I do want to share the impact that Cooper Elementary has. I have my 18-year-old who's in San Francisco State. She was inspired during her elementary in Cooper to be in biology. So because of the impact that Cooper had on her, she, from there on, just to this day, just has her head on her shoulders. And I had her go to Catholic school, middle school. She had a good time. It was here in Vallejo. She went to Justin Siena. But Justin Siena didn't have the diversity that Vallejo does. And she had such a horrible experience at a private school. She wanted to come to Vallejo High. And that was my fear. I didn't want her to come to Vallejo High because of, oh no, Vallejo, Vallejo. But my daughter, she proved me wrong. She was in sports, was in such a good friend group. She excelled. She earned a scholarship that gave her a full ride to San Francisco State. So I feel like if we do want to be on social media, I think we actually have to have students promote our school districts. And another thing, and I do feel emotional as well because I have still 2 little ones, and I am a full-time working mom, and I mean, we all have to work basically. But the reasons why I haven't considered taking my children to a Catholic school, one, because it is expensive. But second, what I love about Cooper Elementary, again, it's the diversity. And we have right now such an important after-school program that helps working parents not worry about, we do worry about our children, but there is such a safe environment. And not only are they there, they're not twiddling their thumbs. Cooper Elementary is actually making these students active. They do cooking classes, they do yoga, they embrace the culture, they embrace diversity. They are teaching our children how to love who they are. And I feel like if there's a school like Cooper Elementary, teaching our children to love ourselves and to teach them that they can do it. Just because we live in Vallejo doesn't mean that they're any less, that they are our future. And I think it is important. Cooper Elementary, honestly, I mean, I've done Catholic schools, and right now with the after-school program that we have and the teachers that we have, they're really involved. And if you didn't notice, there's a trend that it is a family community. And to say that here in Vallejo in a school district, that means a lot. And I feel like the majority here, we're all from Cooper, but again, I think whatever we can do, I don't know if we can do like fundraising, if we can find sponsors, maybe we can get in touch with maybe Kaiser. Is there something we can do to help our community reach for outside resources to bring in whatever we need to make that fiscal year?
I don't have an answer for that. I mean, I think that anything can help, right? I think part of what makes Vallejo so special is we do have people who have gone on to great things in Vallejo. So any of those connections, we always welcome that. We always welcome the outreach. I'm glad to hear about your daughter in college, and we would love to showcase her. That would be fantastic.
And I feel like there's so many other students that have gone to these schools in Vallejo that have become so successful or that are a great example to our younger generation. I feel we need to reach out, find those students, and promote. But with this closure, it just gives so much discouragement. Like, if I feel like if we're going to close Cooper Elementary, I don't have that safety net for my children. I don't have that safe community. And it makes me think, okay, well, what do I have to do? Go to a different city for school, go to Catholic school. It is discouraging, but if there's anything we can do, but just please consider us, because Cooper Elementary really embraces culture, diversity, and empowering our children that they can be the future and to be successful.
Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Isabella Amboy. I'm currently a senior at Jesse Bethel High School.
I know it was briefly mentioned or like shown in your presentation about the CAST testing and how low the scores are. I think my really big question is how do we improve those scores, but also just improve the general education at high school. I understand like the important like all the statistics and just like the scores are low, da 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 da, but it's also like how can we encourage for students to really push to get a higher score, but also just improve their like education in other subjects, especially with the arts and like sciences and stuff like that.
Great question. Let
Well, I'm glad you're asking that because that is the most important thing, right? That every student walk away ready to go on to college if that's their choice or on to career if that's their choice. So we are doing lots of things, especially at the high school level, to increase options for dual enrollment, options for career programming at the high school level. And I think one of the things on the day-to-day student side is eliminating cell phones in your hands during class time, right? So that we can focus on instruction. And then holding our teachers to a standard of engagement and a standard of focus on rigorous instruction, so that this audience who's ready and willing to work because they put their phone away, took their AirPods out, right, are really ready to engage. At our elementary levels, really focusing on making sure that the kids are leaving the early grades as true readers so that as they move and matriculate through the rest of the grades, they're coming prepared for that instruction. So we're working on both ends of the instructional spectrum with the littlest ones, trying to send them forward truly ready to go through professional learning around the science of reading. And then where kids are struggling, our comprehensive support system being implemented fully so that if a student is struggling with their basic skills and not prepared for the next grade, that we've got some support in place for them, right? So I appreciate you being here and sharing your voice because we have to see ourselves as scholars first, right? We have to be ready to, tell our own story in a really powerful way. And, anyone who says that Vallejo kids aren't college bound don't know Vallejo kids, right? Every kid out here, you guys are my college and career bound students, right? So tell that story. Anytime someone's saying who we're not, tell them who we are, right? That's why I appreciate you so much. Thank you for saying the things that you said and talking about our district the way that you do, because I'm fine personally being held accountable to a high standard and saying do better, right? But you have to be here in the fight with us. So I appreciate you holding us to that standard.
That's all. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ms. Brenda. I'm the after-school coordinator at Cooper Elementary. I wanted to ask you something. I wanted to know, is this coming here to talk to you, coming here to represent our school and tell you how much we care about our community, is it really going to help in the long run? Are you listening to us? Or have you guys already made a decision that Cooper is one of the schools closing?
So it does help. All of this helps the context because, like I said, I don't get to make that decision. I get to provide recommendations. And yes, Cooper was on my recommendation. It doesn't mean it's going to stay there. It can shift. And it's all the different factors that are playing into that in where that direction would go. I really valued those of you who came out from Cooper because I hadn't seen a lot of Cooper, quite honestly, in any of the other opportunities we've had, both town halls, board study sessions, going back into the summer when we did the 7-Eleven committee where the initial work started happening where we were examining the different facilities. So I am really happy to see and hear from the Cooper community because we've heard from Stephen Manor, we've heard from Penny Cook, we've heard from Federal Terrace, right? We've heard from some of these communities who have come out. So it's really nice to hear that. And it's exciting, honestly, that that's what's happening at Cooper and that families feel a sense of pride and joy and safety at that school. That's really exciting to hear.
I was at the summer meeting, and I did speak that day too.
Yes.
I have 120 kids in the after-school program. I have 5 TKs, 8 kindergartens, 13 first graders, 22 second graders. I have 23rd. I have 21 fourth, and I have 31 fifth graders. This is my second year as the coordinator. My kids last year, I worked really hard with my team. I don't call them my staff, they're my team. We started focusing on reading, we started focusing on math, making small groups. Our kids improved. Their academics improved. I'm trying my best. I graduated from John Finney School. That's where I graduated from. I love this community, and I'm doing my part. My parents could tell you, I'm in the ELAC, I'm in the PTA, I'm in the care team. I go to every single meeting that I can, and even outside of my work hours. I know that probably just coming to you and tell you, please don't close Cooper. But you know that Cooper, if you bring Federal Terrace over, we'll fit in Cooper. I love Federal Terrace. I get along with Miss Nancy, the coordinator there. I know they have a great park, but how many students do they have? You know that those kids could fit at Cooper. Federal Terrace has Mare Island around, Dan Mini, and us, Cooper. This year, we had more attendance at Cooper. Our attendance grew. We're figuring out, we're on our second principal. I love communicating with all the staff. I love communicating with my parents. I have 4 classrooms, but those classrooms, like they said from Stephen Manor, they're also used for our Hey tutors. They do testing in those classrooms. I'm very privileged as an after-school coordinator to have 4 classes. But those classes are not only used for expanded learning. They're used as for whatever the school needs them. We share technology, we share whatever after-school program has, I share with all my teachers and with all the staff there. I really, really hope you take that into consideration. I feel like John Finney would be great at Federal Terrace. I know we need John Finney. There's a lot of students that need extra support. But you would be closing down a school. You need to spend time at Cooper and see what type of a family we are. Because we are a really close, tight family. There's no problems between, it's not expanded learning, childcare, and regular school day. We're one whole team. One team. Ms. Fabi, that has been at Cooper for childcare more than 20 years. We have built a community so tight that now functions that we have for the after-school kids, they come and join us. Every Thanksgiving, there's a potluck that we even have our people, our custodians come and join us for the potluck. We need you to see that. I know you're only looking at numbers and the finances and all of that. I don't know nothing about that. I know about community, and everything that I do for my kids, I do it from the heart. That's what I put into my job. I put a lot of heart into it. I put a lot of heart into my families. They could tell you, I make time to talk to every single one of them, 120 parents, how their day was. What do they need from me? What do they need from my team? My team are right here. When they could be home, they're not getting paid any extra hours because we care. We care about our community. We care about every single school. I told you at the last meeting, I'm not going to stand here and tell you anything bad about any other school. I'm not going to criticize. I'm not going to tell you my school's bigger, theirs is uglier. I'm not going to do that. But I'm asking you to really see how we've improved in academics, see what we're really trying to do. You promote expanded learning a lot. Then don't close us down. Please don't close us down.
There we go.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sonia Valdez. I am a junior attending Vallejo High School and a third-year Willoughby Atkins Scholar. And today I wanted to ask a question on behalf of an employee for VCUSD. It states, this issue is regarded with the food waste in our school food services. It seems like they often overorder and a lot of juice and milk gets thrown away every day. This happens in all of our kitchens, even though staff are told not to give extra food to students. Meanwhile, we have kids living in poverty who go home hungry and aren't allowed to take any food.
So you want to know why they can't take the food?
Yeah, and kind of maybe explain a little bit also on the extra servings, please.
Do I have a response over there? I mean, I think I know the answer, but I'm going to let. Do you have the answer? Nope. So I do know that the food services, the way funding works very specifically, there are really strict rules and regulation on food and what can be, once food is served, and what can come back, what can't come back, how many servings students can get. And it's really, really strict. It makes absolutely no sense because you would think if a kid's hungry, they should be able to eat. If someone has, that's the truth of it. The problem is that these are government-run programs, and there's really strict rules on how things are counted and what can be provided to students. Like food can't be taken back and then reserved, for example. You just can't do that. There's certain rules behind it. I don't know if Mr. Fernandez, is there anything else or?
I would just add, yes, in addition to that, like the food must be consumed in a specific location, so we can't send it home with kids as well. But also I know that Student Nutrition is piloting our Second Chance breakfast at lots of sites so that if a child maybe misses breakfast in the morning, they can come back at nutrition break to be fed. So in terms of why we order too much, we'd have to get back to the questioner on that. But we do know sometimes as kids get older, they choose fewer of the options available, right? And always trying to figure out what are the kids going to eat while maintaining abundance so that they have lots of choices. Sometimes means that some things don't get used.
And another question, is there any type of food pantries or food services that us as a district may offer? Because as we know, federal cuts are coming, and that's affecting all of us, whether that's you or your neighbors. So
So our full-service community schools at Vallejo High and at other campuses around the city are looking at a needs assessment, what are the needs of that community and and it could be food offerings. I know at the Family Resource Center, Ms. Dilly is providing for some small food resources. We also partner with local organizations to do, like at Patterson, they do the weekend bags of food home with students that sign up. And that is through a partnership with the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. Did I say that right? Yes.
Alpha Kappa.
Did I say it right? Okay.
AKA.
And so there are ways that we are partnering to make sure that food is available to children when they need it. And in expanded learning, one of the things that they provide for there is supper every day. So there are food supports that we provide, and through partnership with community organizations, we can do a little bit more, and through, of course, our full-service community schools to target where the need is most acute.
And sorry, one more thing.
Okay.
So sorry, I kind of just lost my train of thought. Do families know of this? Because I know there could be sometimes a language barrier or miscommunication where some families aren't as involved with the school as other parents may be, so they know that the resources are there.
If you're saying that they don't know, that means we can do a better job, right? And so we are going to have to just continue advertising. The programs that I'm thinking of at like Patterson, the home the bag of food that goes home over the weekend, school staff will refer families to that support and ask if they want it based on, things that they might notice as a need. But I think we can do it, as the Family Support Center gets really up and running, we can make sure that it's clear to the community that those services are there.
All right, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Kim. My 3 children attend Cooper Elementary. They are actually also attending the expanded learning program. I just want to say that Cooper, it's not just a school, it's a growing community and a growing family. Many of us have gotten to know each other. A lot of my children play with other students, and we've all happened to bond. And the thing about what Miss Brenda said, the expanded learning program is also a team. When my children initially started, they were going through a lot of big emotions, a lot of big changes. And a lot of the times I feel like a lot of school districts wouldn't know how to handle it, So with my children being at Cooper, I felt like they were able to grow, not just through their education, but emotionally, becoming emotionally stable, learning how to just navigate through these years while they're in school. And offering such a great support system, I have seen them achieve so much in the last few years. And taking away that from our community there and the parents I see every day just walking to school with their kids and picking them up, it would be really, really, really sad just to see that be gone and having to displace multiple kids, no matter how much if you try to keep us Cooper family together, it would be very difficult because of what are like the demographic where we live. And for myself, I work for UCSF, so I commute every day to the city and back. But Miss Brenda, the principal, they've always worked with me, in terms of me getting to my children on time. And sometimes I work 16-hour shifts like I just did last night. I worked from 8 p.m. until 6:30 this morning. So I came here because it's really important to me, and it's really important to keep my family together. I'm not saying it's not any different for other school districts or schools as well, but I just wanted to make a statement for my family here.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I'm Marco. I'm a senior at Jesse Bethel, and my question is that how do you expect students not to want to transfer outside to like Benicia or an American Canyon, especially for more like advanced students, if the number of APs are very minimal and very basic?
You want to answer that one?
If there are AP offerings that you are seeking, we should talk about what those are. So I'd be interested to hear what offerings students are seeking that they don't have. And through your school principal, making those requests known to her, she can work with my office to figure out how we then can provide that. So you mentioned the potentials of transfers, right? So we've done a few things to try to mitigate some of the reasons families have given for wanting to leave, Mandarin being one of those. Offering a Mandarin class on both campuses is a response to the community saying what they want, right? So if students are saying that there is an AP course that we don't offer, but they would like to participate in, then please share that information, again, through Ms. Belfaceja and up through to my office so we can talk about how can we find a teacher to do that, okay?
And then I had just one more question. A lot of the times, especially in most of the AP classes that I've currently been taking, the resources that the school provides is not good at all. I end up having to go for outside sources and spend my own money on study textbooks, study sources to be able to be prepared. Oh, thank you. Be prepared and hopefully get a 5 on the AP exam. So how are you guys able to provide those resources for us?
So similarly, if there is something you need for your class that is not being provided or a supplemental resource that you need, we do have funding to provide for supplemental resources. I'm hearing about test preparation. So we'll just have to do some work to make sure you have what you need. You should not be coming out of pocket for those test preparations. As an example, next week I'm sorry, not next week.
This week.
Wednesday, Wednesday at Bethel, we are funding PSAT for all 11th graders, right? So where we identify a need, we can respond. If there's something you're not receiving, use your voice and advocacy first at your site level, right? Go to your principal has an office door, knock on it, right? And let her know what you need, and then challenge her to, work with you or work with students to find those resources if they don't yet exist. But we are more than willing to provide resources to students to pursue their academic goals, as exemplified by Wednesday's PSAT being funded fully.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Colette Laye. I am a library media tech actually at Federal Terrace. Like many of the Cooper families, our school is a community as well. We may not have everybody here this evening. During the summer they were there. But as you guys feel, Federal Terrace is a community as well. In the morning, I greet families. After school, I help dismiss kindergartners, TKs, first grade. I know the parents' car. A lot of our students actually walk to school. So just like Cooper has the issue with whether they close or not, Federal Terrace sees the same things, and we're concerned for our students as well. With busy intersections, Broadway, Sonoma, I know Cooper feels the same way. I've gone to the 7-Eleven meetings. I've gone to the study session just last week, and it was a deep dive into it. So you could actually see what the transportation would be if they have to change zoning. So I'm glad to actually see so many people here tonight showing concerns for their school. And just like I said, I feel the same way as all of you. It's just a matter of time, and we're gonna have to just wait and see what's gonna happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So I know we're at time. I just want to really thank you all for coming out this evening, for sharing your thoughts, asking questions. Please stay informed. All the information regarding closures and consolidation is up to date on our district website. There you can find past meetings, agendas, minutes, all of that information is there. We will have another town hall. We also will be doing a Spanish language town hall for this community who maybe doesn't feel they can come out. We want to make sure that we're reaching everyone and giving everyone an opportunity to share their voice, to share concerns and ask the questions. Stay engaged, stay informed. QR code gets you right to those pages that we talked about. Just so people know, December 17th, that is the board meeting where I'm going to be pushing the school board to make decisions. So up until that point, we're still gathering information. We're still gathering the feedback. December 17th is a regular board meeting. That'll be the board meeting where these items will be agendized for school closure, for items reducing the budget, items reducing staffing. Right now, we are thinking of hosting that meeting at the Hogan Theater for our regular board meeting, just because we would believe we would have a pretty big turnout of community and families. So we want to make sure it's in a right and appropriate space for a meeting of that magnitude. So I appreciate you all coming out. I know these are difficult decisions, difficult topics. I'm so happy to hear the energy around our schools and just the energy in the community. Think VCUSD first. That means tell our story, encourage our families to look at our schools, to consider our schools. Thank you and have a safe evening.